Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back with another video. This time it's going to be for Saryn Prime. So, Saryn Prime was actually one of my first primes, and she kind of holds a special place in my heart for this game. Um, when I first started, my friends, they really wanted me to play, so they did whatever they could to get me to play. So they basically helped me get Saryn Prime, which ended up being my first prime, and I thought Saryn was such a fun Warframe, and she's still a Warframe I play a ton today. And you know, I've looked up builds extensively for her. I've looked up ways to improve on her. Of course, she has changed, and builds have changed on her. Um, but what I've come up with now is probably one of the better builds I've been able to create, at least for Saryn. Um, it's a pretty solid build, and there's no negatives in it. So, with that being said, though, let's go ahead and get into the abilities. So first, I'm sure most people know what Saryn does by now, but just in case you don't, her passive status effects inflicted upon enemies last 25% longer. So this goes really good with her spores, her miasma, and even her toxic lash. So basically, her spores. This is your main ability. This is kind of like your spam ability to a point. You do need to apply it to an enemy, of course, and then you need to pop the spore, and the spore will infect other enemies around. So, just gonna read it real quick. Inflict a target with a pox of corrosive spores, so you're shredding their armor as well with these spores. Spread spores to nearby enemies by destroying them or killing their host. The longer the spore spreads, its damage will increase. So you want it to be spreading like crazy so that the damage is going up. And since it's corrosive, they're just getting shredded, which is great. Um, so range is going to be important. Strength is going to be a little bit important, not as important, but it is still pretty important. Duration affects your decay rate, and then efficiency affects your drain. So you want your efficiency to be at least okay, and you want your duration to also be okay. So basically, you do not want any negatives with Saryn if you want her to kind of be able to do, well, everything she does. So I tried to make it to where I had a pretty even spread of stats with this, but I'll show you that in a minute. Next is her molt. Shedding her skin like a snake, Saryn leaves a decoy behind to draw fire from enemies. This is more of a survival thing, but it does look like it does a little bit of damage. I think it's when it explodes, of course. I've never really paid too much attention, but the molt is very much so just a way to survive if you're having troubles with that. There is also a mod that is called regenerative molt. Whenever you molt, you actually are gaining health. So that mod is good if you're having trouble surviving. I don't use it in the build that I'm going to show you today, but it is a good mod, and it's definitely worth taking if you're struggling to survive. Next is Toxic Lash. While active, attacks deal additional toxic damage. This effect is doubled for melee strikes. Instantly bursts spores when attacking afflicted enemies. So, Toxic Lash. This is great for melee weapons and still pretty good for ranged weapons. Basically, your whole goal is to be bursting spores, to be spreading it amongst a bunch of enemies. That is your main goal. So, having Toxic Lash on is a great idea because you're not only doing additional toxin damage with it, you're also bursting spores like crazy. So, make sure to keep Toxic Lash up and make sure to be spreading your spores. And then last, this is your real spam ability. This is called Miasma. Release a poisonous miasma that deals viral damage to enemies in range. Foes afflicted by spores are more susceptible to the mist. So basically, you're putting your spores on, you're spreading them a bit, and then you use your miasma a bunch. So you're going to be poisoning enemies with your miasma, making them take viral damage. You're going to be having toxic damage going on with your toxin lash or toxic lash. And then you're going to have corrosive going on with your spores. So essentially, the Warframe can actually just clear a level almost if they're if the enemies are within range of each other. It'll just keep going. As long as spores are popping and you're spamming your miasma, they'll just keep getting infected. And it is a ton of fun, and honestly it's just crazy to see the numbers just constantly going. Now, the big downfall of Saryn is if the enemies are not within range of each other, the spores will not bounce to other enemies. They will stop. They do have a range, and that's something you want to be aware of. You want to know about what the range is, and that's just something you'll kind of figure out as you play. So with that being said, though, let's go ahead and get into the build. So first off, I take Energy Siphon. If you wanted to, you could take Corrosive Projection. That actually doesn't hurt. It is just more corrosion. I take Energy Siphon because it allows for me to be able to spam my spores, my miasma. It allows me to do everything a bit more. However, if you want more damage, Corrosive Projection is perfectly fine. And, you'll have Corrosive Projection already, and then you also have your Corrosive Spores. So it's up to you. Use what you feel is best. Both are good. But then next I have Cunning Drift, plus 12% slide, minus 30% friction, plus 15% ability range. We're only taking this for the range. There are other Exilus mods we could take. You could take Power Drift, give you some more strength. Not a huge deal. You could also use Coaction Drift, giving your aura more strength and effectiveness. So if you're using Energy Siphon, that's going to amplify it. If you're using Corrosive Projection, it'll amplify it. So Coaction Drift is actually very good, but you would lose out on a little bit of range. So you'll have to make that decision for yourself. I personally choose the range over the aura effectiveness. And then next we use Stretch, plus 45% ability range. So this is important. Like I said, range is a huge stat on Saryn. She needs the range for the spores to be able to spread, for the miasma to be able to hit more. So stretch is pretty important. Next is Augur Reach, plus 30% ability range. Again, range is just important. Since we are also using 2 Augur mods, I'm not sure where the second is. That is actually kind of weird. But apparently I'm using 2 Augur mods. It must be on a weapon or something. I didn't think that they had that, but whatever. So with that being said, 80% energy spent on abilities is converted to shields. You're going to be using energy like crazy, so you're going to have a constant shield coming in. This is actually very, very helpful on Saryn. It helps her survive a lot more. So I suggest making sure you take Augur Reach and I guess figuring out what other Augur mod I have on. I don't know where it is or why I have 2 set up there, but I do. And then next is Umbral Intensify, plus 40% ability strength, plus 10% tower resistance. So normally you would take Umbral Vitality with this, but we already have 6 formas, and I didn't want to form it again, to be honest. So I just took Umbral Intensify with no Umbral Vitality. So it's up to you, though. You can form it again and get an Umbral Vitality in there. But yeah, that's completely up to you. Next is Streamline, plus 30% ability efficiency. Again, we don't want to be below 100% efficiency. Really, we don't want to be below 100% on anything, because all of this is very helpful to the build. And it's a pretty even spread of stats. So this just helps that. Next is Flow. You can change out Flow if you're not having energy problems. There's plenty you could take. You could take like Augur Strength, I think, would be a good one. Augur Secrets. I keep calling it Strength. So Augur Secrets would be a good one. Yeah. Okay. So that just adds strength. It doesn't hurt. It's actually just going to help in multiple ways. So if you're not having problems with energy, go ahead and use Augur Secrets. It gives you plus 24% ability strength, and then also 120% energy spent on abilities is converted to shields because you have 3 mods. And if you can't figure out what other Augur mod I'm using, because for the life of me, I cannot remember. Um, it has to be on a weapon. That's all I can think of. um, that's okay. You know, you'll still have the 80% if you use Augur Secrets and Augur Reach. So, you know, it's up to you. Of course, you don't have to use secrets. You can use flow. You can use Augur Message, make some duration go up, but I don't suggest Augur Message, to be honest. I mean, you have enough duration with just Prime Continuity. Um, so up to you, but I do not suggest using Augur Message over Flow or Augur Secrets. Um, and then next is Transient Fortitude, plus 50% ability strength, minus 25% ability duration. So yes, we are losing some duration, but we're gaining strength. We do need the strength. We don't want our spores to be doing nothing. Basically, the more damage they're doing, the easier it is to ramp it up because it starts at a higher base damage. So more strength does not hurt, and I'll just show you the difference real quick. So right now the damage per second is 16.4, and then with Transient Fortitude it is 21.4. So this doesn't seem like a lot, but you have to remember the spores are going to be ramping up in damage. So they start out at a really low damage, but they ramp up to, 1,000, 2,000, even 3,000. It just depends on how many enemies are infected, how much toxin you have going, how much miasma you're doing. There's a lot of variables that are affecting this damage. So with that being said, though, let's go ahead and move on to Prime Continuity plus 55% ability duration. This does keep us above the 100% duration, making it to 130%, which is great. It's needed to be above 100% for everything, which is really weird on most Warframes, and most people don't do that, but I felt it was kind of necessary, and it doesn't really hurt to do it that way. Usually you focus on like 2 stats, and the rest kind of just die, which is fine, but Saryn doesn't feel like she works that way. At least I've noticed that. Maybe people will tell you different, and maybe you feel different. That's fine, no problems there. This is just a build I made that I think works really well, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So with the last bit, I am using Vitality plus 440% health. It's health, it's survival. You need survival. If you're not living, you're not doing damage. So, well, I guess actually with Saryn, that's not completely true. If you go down, you actually still are doing damage as long as the spores are on. But you don't really want to go down because you want to be spreading the spores constantly. So, and then for the arcanes, and I am mostly using these two because I don't have many arcanes. I really need to do more Eidolon hunts. But right now I'm using Arcane Guardian, it's a 15% chance for plus 900 armor for 20 seconds. And then Arcane Grace, which is 9% chance for plus 6% health regen a second for 9 seconds. So these are good for survival. Depending on what you're doing, you could use Arcane Precision if you're going for more, pistol use. You can go Arcane Strike for more melee use. Velocity again for pistol use. I mean, there's plenty of choices. Like, seriously, you can choose anything you want in the arcanes. I just use these survival ones because, well, they're my highest ranked ones, and I don't really use pistols on Saryn. I'm actually using Phage because it helps spread spores easier. So, with that being said, though, that's the build. I'm actually just going to do a quick demonstration for you guys. And you're going to notice low numbers at first, like I said. Oh, I should actually go get my energy. So yeah, it's going to be low numbers at first. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to put a spore on each side. So one there. Okay, one there. One there. and then one there, and then we're just gonna phage them real quick. And come on, that phage doesn't reach. Let's get our toxic lash up. I almost forgot about that. Okay. And there we go. So now, as you can see, the spores are just doing tons of damage. Our miasma is doing damage. The toxin from the toxic lash is doing damage, and everything just kind of slowly melting. And you just see damage numbers ticking like crazy. And everything will just melt. This frame can wipe floors without you really even doing much of anything. But with that being said, guys, I mean that's the build. That's what it can do. And you know, I hope you guys like it as much as I do. And you know, hopefully you guys have some fun with it. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. As always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.